Hey, what's up guys, and welcome to the most compact Threadripper system that you can currently build, measuring just 18 liters in total volume. A use case for a system like this would be one that perhaps requires a bit of portability, so moving the system to and from your home and your office, for example, but one that also requires a ton of CPU performance, and I mean a ton. We've got 16 cores in there via the Threadripper CPU, and that's packed into just an 18-liter case, the Chimera Cerberus. Even if you aren't interested in the portability aspect of something like this, building this small, even with a Threadripper system, is pretty doable, and it's actually a pretty practical approach building this compact, in my opinion, even if you're just going to have this sitting on your desk. So if you are interested in Threadripper, but you don't require a multi-GPU setup, you don't require a ton of storage, and you don't require 128 gigabytes of memory, then this is something that you might want to take a look at. All right, let's talk about the parts. The processor that we're using is the Threadripper 2950X from AMD. It's a 16-core, 32-thread CPU that can boost to around 4.3 gigahertz, depending on the load. It fits into that sweet spot of the Threadripper lineup where you're still getting a ton of cores at a decent price, but it's not like the 24-core and 32-core processors where you need to worry about memory latency in certain applications. That's locked into the ASRock X399 Tai Chi motherboard, and currently this is the only micro ATX motherboard for X399 that even exists. I did a full review on this board where we looked at the power circuit, overclocking, and temperatures under load. You can check that out in the top right hand corner. Basically, this board is pretty epic. It would easily have to be one of my favorite motherboards, not only because it's unique and it's filling a niche void that other motherboard manufacturers don't want to even go near, but it's also relatively affordable and also has really great performance. I've got all 4 memory slots populated with G.Skill FlareX memory for 32 gigabytes total. These modules are clocked at 3200 megahertz at stock, but can be overclocked to 3600 megahertz on this board at 1.5 volts. Now, the case that makes this entire build even possible in the first place is the Chimera Cerberus. The big thing that the Cerberus had going for it is unreal hardware compatibility in such a small volume. Not only is it significantly smaller than other micro ATX cases, here's my girlfriend's defined Mini C for a bit of a comparison, but it also retains all of the compatibility that you would require from a micro ATX enclosure. It's also extremely flexible in terms of layout. You can swap the rear-mounted ATX supply for an SFX unit if you like, as well as position that at the front. And there's so much to talk about regarding this case, so if you're interested, just click that link in the top right-hand corner. Now, speaking of power supplies, I did initially plan on squeezing in the 1000 watt Be Quiet straight power 11, but unfortunately was a bit too long and was conflicting with the tubes on the AIO. I swapped that out for a Corsair RM unit, which only just fit, and I decided to leave the stock cables on there since the ventilated side panel is going on anyway, and the cables are already pre-sleeved. Now, the GPU that we're using is the 2080 Ti, and the specific card is the flagship card from Gigabyte. This is the Aorus Extreme. Full review on this one also, so feel free to check that out in the top right hand corner. I wanted to include an RTX card here over a GTX card because seeing as this is a workstation sort of system, it could possibly make use of ray tracing in workstation applications in the future. Also because it is the most powerful gaming card that you can buy at the moment. The cooler that I'm using here is the best that I've tested for Threadripper CPUs so far, and that's the NMAX LickTech 240. The performance gains on this cooler are from that massive cold plate on the bottom that covers the entire heat spreader of Threadripper CPUs, and going for an AIO in this case is the most space optimized solution as it fits quite comfortably at the bottom. The clearance underneath the graphics card though is basically non-existent with the shroud resting on the frame of the fans. So this is roughly a 2.5 slot card, but a 3 slot card would not fit with the system. And having the fans that close actually improved GPU thermals over having the GPU on an open test bench by about 2 degrees C, as this way the fans are getting some decent airflow to the GPU heatsink. Thermals for the CPU were actually really acceptable as well, plenty of headroom for overclocking there, and it's great to see that the motherboard VRMs, despite being tucked away behind the power supply, are actually running pretty cool as well. I'd say that the top mounted exhaust fan is definitely helping with things there as it's positioned right above the heatsink for the V-Core VRM. For the radiator fans and the front mounted fan, I'm using the ultra quiet Noctua NFA 12x25s. You guys know at this point that these are worlds ahead of the competition in terms of acoustic performance, so for a workstation they're definitely fitting. I know some of you guys hate the color scheme there, but at least we have a ventilated side panel to mostly conceal the interior. So overall, I am really happy with how this build went. It actually went really smoothly. I know I didn't do any custom hardline tubing or anything like that, and I didn't do any custom sleeving, but for a practical factory looking workstation setup as compact as possible, this is definitely the way to go in my opinion. And for those who are looking to build a Threadripper system as small as possible, definitely consider this setup. Of course, if you're just building a compact gaming system or a video editing system, you can go way smaller than this, and we've demonstrated this on the channel before. Check out the Dan A4, which is just 7.2 liters, or the Ghost S1, which is about 8.2 liters. Those are seriously compact enclosures, which are perfect for gaming systems or some moderate to light loads like video editing. Otherwise guys, I have all of the links down below if you want to check out any of these parts, including the Cerberus case, which is the smallest micro ATX case that you can currently buy. As always guys, huge thanks for watching. Consider subscribing if you haven't already, and I'll see you all in the next one.